They say the best offense is a good defense, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense showed up tonight. Welcome inside Bonfire After Dark. Darrin Bauming, Zach Schnitzer, good to be with you. 26-12, the final score tonight. Bombers improved to 3-0. Ticats dropped to 0-3. Bit of a weather delay to get things going. That's why we are a little bit delayed. Good morning to you all joining us just after midnight here on Game Day After Dark. Zach, what's going on? How was the game for you in the stands tonight?
Oh, buddy, that is my favorite type of football.
Yeah.
Whenever you get Willie Jefferson with a pick six to put the game away, and I may be revealing too soon my turning point there, Darrin.
Yeah, don't give it
But
away.
but yeah, unbelievable defensive performance by the Blue Bombers against a hungry Ticats team that really let one slip away last week against Calgary. You had the Grey Cup rematch. You even had Bob McGregor, the maestro, calling it that, and you got the white jerseys. My only problem was I only have white pants. I don't have a white jersey, and I don't have a white shirt.
Wait a second. Wait a
Do
second.
not have a white shirt in my arsenal.
Wait a second. You have white pants, but no white shirt. I'm not saying
Yeah,
those two
they're like
things go
sort of a
together, but
white.
how often is that the case where you have white pants but not a white shirt? Like everybody has a white shirt. Who has white pants? Whew.
They're kind of a cream colored. I don't know. My wife bought them for me. They're
I don't
kind of
need
a
any more. I don't
denim.
think we need more detail. We don't need more detail. But
Okay, I'll
you
stop.
got your homage to your late father on your jersey, 48. Zach, it was cool to see the whiteout at IG
Yeah.
Field tonight. It was cool to see still lots of people sticking it through somewhat crummy weather. I know people that decided to not go to the lake this weekend because of this storm system. 23,600 was the official announced attendance at IG Field tonight. Just want to give a shout out to like everybody watching. Awesome numbers, like watching live on YouTube and Facebook. Jump into the live chat. We'll get things fired up here on a steamy game day after dark. The Bombers moved to 3-0. What's maybe the one play of the game, Zach, that stood out to you the most before we dive into what we saw, run game defense from the Ticats, from Claris, and the rest?
I I I don't think anybody could disagree with me, Darren. Adam Big Hill
Yeah.
just absolutely smoking Stephen Dunbar. The Ticats were they needed a drive to get back in the game, and he just skewered him in the back. Ball pops up to Nick
Yeah.
Taylor, and Nick Taylor, by the way, he was cradling that ball all the way to the sideline and partying with the ball. Oh my god, was that a hit? And when you're a Bomber fan in the crowd and you see it, now, of course, you never wanna get injured.
No, of
Yeah,
course not.
the Dembski catch
But
was
you
unbelievable.
do want to exert authority. You do want to exert
Oh,
physical fear, right? And physical presence. So this is football. Like that was a
oh,
clean legal hit, nothing wrong with
yeah,
it. Some people in my Twitter mentions talking about, Dane Evans throwing a suicide ball, as they call it. So, you know, either way, that play was one that really seemed to be the final nail in the coffin for this game. The
mhm,
Ticats really couldn't get much going throughout the game. It was a field goal fest in the first half. The defense really showed up in the second half for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
yeah,
Like we can talk about lockdown D and a great run D. And well, the Ticats don't run the football. They kind of do a little check down game. That's the way they use Sean Thomas Erlington, Don Jackson, healthy scratch tonight because they had some ratio issues.
yeah,
But that offensive line in Hamilton looked Swiss at times. I think people know what I mean
yeah,
by that. And
yeah,
Jefferson and Jeffcoat and Jake Thomas had some great plays. I don't really understand that penalty against him.
Yeah,
Leg whip or whatever it was, but like those guys in the front
yeah.
really came to play and helped a defensive backfield that is, like a new starter in Malcolm Thompson at safety and a new starter in Demario Houston at boundary corner.
And I'll be honest, I was worried about Demario Houston. I thought he struggled last year, albeit it was his first year last year, Darren. But I mean, I think he tied with the lead in tackles tonight with 6. You don't always want your DBs to tie with the
Right.
lead in tackles, but what I didn't see with Houston is I didn't see him get burned.
They went
I
after him
didn't
early, didn't they? They were
Yeah,
going after him early, 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 like
yeah.
lots.
And he held his own, so
He played
good
pretty
for
good.
good
Yep.
for him. It's
Yep.
hard to step in for Winston Rose, an all-star, perennial all-star, a pick machine who, albeit had been picked on early in the
Mhm.
season, but, yeah,
Yep.
hats off to Demario Houston. Thought he played in a solid game.
Uh, if we can look at some defensive numbers, I'll try to make them a little bit larger here so people can maybe see. You know, Adam Bighill and Kyrie Wilson with 5 tackles apiece, and Dietrich Nichols leading the way with 6. I didn't see them go after Dietrich Nichols too much. Sometimes, as you mentioned, you don't want your DBs to be leading the team in tackles because it means they're being targeted. I don't know if we can read too much into that. We sung Dietrich Nichols praises on Game Day After Dark here on Bonfire Sports last week. It was really, to me, the defensive front of the Blue Bombers that did the most damage. Um, I asked Willie Jefferson this, like this is interesting to me, Zach. I asked Willie Jefferson after the game. I said, there was a moment there before your tackle for loss, Willie, before your sack, before your pick six, where I'm thinking to myself, man, Jackson Jeffcoat's in the backfield all the time. Like he's getting
Yeah.
pressure all the time. He had that great pass knockdown. I think it was in the second quarter. Like I was like, wow, Jackson Jeffcoat might be the defensive player of the game in this game. He's all over the place. And then Willie comes out and one ups everybody and gets his
Oh,
5th career touchdown in the Canadian Football League. Like, what a monster play that was. And I'm not sure exactly who made the play on the pass that put the ball
yeah,
kind of
I
right
was trying to
into.
figure that out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't see
But
it in the stat sheet. It looked like 30 something. I mean, it could it have been Houston? I'm not sure, but I mean, someone was right on the guy over the top, and the receiver, it got tipped away, and boy, oh boy, there is
we,
nothing. There is nothing a Bombers crowd likes more than Willie
mhm.
Jefferson picking a ball off. Not to mention running it in for a touchdown. Like, I don't know about you, Darren. I'm guessing you didn't do this, and my buddy Drew Mandel from Illegal Curve, who came with me, didn't do this because I'm trying to bring him over to the dark side, pun intended. But I took off out of my seat and I ran up and down section 128, up and down the stairs, giving people high fives. Like, oh, Hustler was into it. He was up in the Loge section, the Princess Auto Loge section. Oh my God, did we have a good time, man? Like, that's what life's all about. The Willie Jefferson picks a ball off, takes it to the house, basically puts the game away. Absolute gold, buddy.
Your voice tells the whole story. Are you sipping tea there? I think you are.
And as
Uh,
my compatriots on road 12 and 128, Logan and Aaron and David and Steve, they say, "Hey, we noticed you're sipping tea at the end of the game." I'm like, "Yeah, I have no voice left."
That's great though. Shows like who was it? Brady Oliveira, I think, spoke about that after the game. It's like, it wasn't a sellout, wasn't even near a sellout, like 10,000 short of a sellout, which is a big stadium relative to the rest of the Canadian Football League at
Yeah.
33,000 plus. But with 23,600 there, rain soaked, lubricated probably, and the rest. They were extremely loud, like very, very intimidating for opposing teams to deal with that crowd noise. And probably a reason the Blue Bombers are what, like 20-1 in their last 20, like since 2019 at
Yep.
IG Field. Like they are locked down, protect the house. It's beyond impressive now. You know, Kolaris keeps racking up his individual wins, quarterback wins, you know, take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But Winnipeg wins with defense. This was a chip
Yep.
shot game all game until the defense put the offense in field position to win and or to continue to add up points. Nick Dembski left this game, Zach, with a ankle injury, left ankle injury. I saw him walking off the field in the second quarter or third quarter, pardon me. Um, uh, with no shoe or sock on his left foot. So somewhat
Mm.
of a positive. Like if it was a very, very serious injury, they don't take the shoe off. Right. So
Okay.
maybe that's a positive. I think it's a good thing the Blue Bombers have a stretch of time now that they're off.
Yeah.
They play a week from Monday. So they've got a long, like, what is it? It's Saturday morning now, but you're going from Friday to the following Monday.
Yep.
So, you know, 10 days roughly between games. You know, they'll be in Toronto on July 4th to get healthy,
Yep.
to you know, lick your wounds after a real grudge match, as I described this game. But man, Nick Dembski is a dangerous man. He made some great plays. He does it with grit in
Yep.
breaking tackles, and he does it with athleticism in his speed and his breakaway ability and running routes. And then the
Yep.
way he turned his body to make that catch to set
Oh,
up the Brady Oliveira touchdown right before the half. Like, wow, what amazing body control, what great skill Nick
yeah.
Dembski has. He is a special player, man, and deserves all the accolades he gets. Man,
He does, and, you know, it's always Dembski for me, and even Drew, who's a
always
hockey guy,
Dembski.
agreed. It's always Dembski, and I might be using hyperbole here, but, like, it always seems to be Dembski who makes that key play to start the engine of the offense, Darren.
Mhm.
Like that, like you said, there'd been a couple field goals. It was a tight game, defensive game, hard-hitting game, hey? Like, it was a physical game, I thought.
Yep,
And
absolutely it
and then
was. Yeah, they were smacking
and
each
I
other. Like, it went
believe
both ways. It went both ways. Yeah.
and I b and I believe Kalaris throws he throws a deep ball to Dalton Schoen, which he
Mhm.
missed him on the outside on one-on-one coverage. And it not the next play where he hits Dembski with that unbelievable catch to set up the touchdown at the end of the half? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, the 40-yard catch to the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's Nick Dembski. He always seems to be the one to break it wide open. And you know, he almost has 100 yards. He doesn't even finish the game.
Yeah. 6 catches on 7 targets for 96 yards and averaging 16 yards a catch too, which is a really healthy number. If we can talk about big catches and big deep plays, I wanna talk, you know, I have some thoughts on Zach Collaros, but let's highlight Greg Ellingson and that opening shot on the first play of Winnipeg's first offensive possession. Hamilton presumably lost the toss because Winnipeg got the ball to start the second half, and I
Yeah.
think the wind in the fourth quarter. But uh, regardless, Winnipeg to have the cojones to take a shot like that on your first offensive play on the second offensive possession of the game. Like
Yeah.
Hamilton, what did they do? They went like 2 and out or a few 4 plays and then punted. And then first play, deep shot, lays out. Greg Ellingson makes an unbelievable catch that looked to be the play of the game. And then it was just play after play after play. The Blue Bombers offense and defense made that kind of, you know, like, oh, yeah, that's right. He had that big play right at the beginning of the game, 46-yard catch. And Zach Collaros asked about it after the game by Paul Friesen of the Winnipeg Sun. Is that scripted? Do you have that plan to take that shot on the first play, or do you wait to see what the the Hamilton Tiger Cats show? And Collaros said, it very well may have been scripted, but I don't want to know. He's like, I tell Buck, I don't want to know. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to know until 10 seconds before I have to like say it in the huddle, or 10 seconds before I walk to the line of scrimmage. He doesn't want to know because he'll probably get in his own thoughts about it. Like, oh, okay, I got to lay it out here. And where's the
Okay.
overthinking it a little bit. He just wants to hear the play, go make the play. And I think it set the tone for the game. I was really impressed with that. It was a short drive, but that one shot got them into field goal range. Mark Leggio, 45-yarder, longest of the season, made it 3-0 Winnipeg, and away they went with the kicking game. Tell me what you saw from Legs tonight.
Darrin, I was impressed with Leggio.
No question.
He goes 3 for 3 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the point afters. And they weren't just chip shot field goals, right? Like what were a couple of 40-yard, large of 45 yards.
Yeah.
Great field goals. His kickoffs were nice and deep. No kickoffs out of bounds this time. His punting, I mean, the air time on those punts, he had a couple of good directional punts. Now, 2 of them went for singles. You don't love that.
He was so close. He
But
was
they were
so close,
man. They were
that
close.
that one sidewinder he had in the first half. I think it was in the second quarter. He really put like a sidewinder on it, and it rolled out like 3 yards into the end zone. And it was just like, oh man, he was this close to pinning Hamilton deep, where Winnipeg could have easily gotten the ball back inside the 40. That would have been a phenomenal play. Very close there, very close on another punt, but there was some where he just launched them. A 51-yard punt, was a single in the third quarter. Where was the long one? I know I have it here.
73 or something.
74 yards.
Absolutely blasted it.
Yeah, on their own 50, and he just crushes it. But field goals tonight, he was perfect. He hit from 45, then he hit from 30. Then he hit from 41 and made all of his converts. He was I think he was the Blue Bombers' leading scorer tonight. No surprise.
He was, because I think he had 3 singles.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it worked. It absolutely worked for Mark Leggio tonight. I think. We were talking about who your Walby's warrior would be. I might give it to Mark Leggio for, closing, shutting out all of the noise that's been around and having a great football game where, especially early, like I understand it's a 26-12 game, but especially early, for the mentality of the team to say, like, we're in it, we're in a fight, we're leading at halftime, they wouldn't have been without Mark Leggio. They wouldn't have been. And field position, that was something I asked Zach Collaros about after the game. He mentioned Legs I asked him about special teams tonight. He mentioned Mark Leggio by name and how good he was. The cover teams were really, really good tonight. The special teams were excellent. Zach Collaros talked about complementary football, and that's the closest or the best that they've played in complementary football. Offense helping the defense, helping the special teams, helping the offense, and around you go. That's complementary football.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. They didn't blow the doors off the Ticats. It was a tight ball game. But listen, Darrin, 1 touchdown allowed in 3 games. 1. That is absolutely phenomenal, and that is your 2021 Blue Bombers dark side defense at its finest. And we're seeing it bright and early in the 2022 season. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's not like you're playing the dregs of the quarterback world. Jeremiah Masoli threw up over 300 yards in 2 games, in both games. Dane Evans is a good quarterback.
He's okay.
At times. At times. He threw
for 400. He threw for 400 and
right?
something yards last week.
Yeah.
In a loss. But tonight, I don't know. He wasn't very good. Quarterback efficiency rating of 55.4. He finished 25 of 42. That's 60%. No touchdowns, 2 picks, maybe the Jefferson one. I don't know if you can hang it on him, but either way, continues to turn the ball over. He had 237 yards passing, which for a Blue Bombers opposing quarterback, it's a good number. Don't you agree? I love this comment from Waiters. Expect the Bombers to put Willie Jefferson in the Ring of Honor next home game. Very well could be, of course. I really, there was another comment here I wanted to draw attention to. Yes, Kevin, who was our first contest winner on Bonfire Sports
he
this
was
year.
Mr.
And I think,
Golfer. Yeah.
he's headed out to see my good friends at Scotswood Links in Elm Creek, Manitoba. Quick jaunt down Highway 3. Beautiful course. Jeffcoat looked amazing tonight. He really did. I thought Jeffcoat played as well as anybody. Jefferson's going to get the accolades. He's going to get the mentions and the talk and the highlight reels. Absolutely. And deservedly so. But Jackson Jeffcoat was a workman today. Lunch pail, hard hat, went to work, got the job done against a beat up Hamilton offensive line.
But they were all in the backfield. Like it was just like there was a party in the backfield every time. And Dane Evans didn't want to be at that party. He did not want to be at that party. And I think Dane Evans, like, he can throw up over 400 yards. You saw what he did in 2019.
Yep.
But they had to be fair, and O'Shea talked about this, they had a little bit of a beat up O-line, Hamilton did. Revenberg was out. Van Zyl was out for a bit. He came back.
Alex Fontana.
They had Fontana. So, okay, that's not going to help the Ticats, but still, I mean, they were just in his kitchen all night. And I think what they showed in the 2019 Grey Cup and last year's Grey Cup until he got injured was, if you get Dane Evans off his spot and you make him uncomfortable, he does not play well under pressure. Now you contrast that with a guy like Jeremiah Masoli, who I think plays really well under pressure. He's good with his legs. He's accurate on the run. But we have, and I'd be interested to see when we play them again with a fully healthy O-line, Darren. But I say we have Dane Evans' number. And when you don't run the ball in the CFL, and I get they have this run and shoot offense where they're throwing 2-3 yard hits or dumps, and it's like, okay, it's basically a run play. But when you don't run the ball, I think the Ticats had 30 something yards of rushing. There's not even a threat of running the ball.
But they do that check down. They do that check down game, right? Like there was a time here in Winnipeg where there was criticism on, well, you guys aren't running the football very much. You're not using Andrew Harris in the run game. And it was, it was check down alley. Like those are the Drew Willie days, right? Man, we talk about Drew Willie a lot here in 2022 on Bonfire Sports.
We've got some Willie-itis.
Yeah, right. Willie Peg. Well, we just got through a ridiculous winter peg, so maybe that's why we're on Drew Willie. But it was about the check down game. The check down game isn't always about everything's falling apart and I got to check it down. Sometimes it's designed that way. Sometimes screens don't look so perfectly executed that it's like, oh, wow, look how it's perfectly over the O-line. There's a bubble and the screen works, right? There's different ways to play that short pass game to give your running back a little bit of space to make someone miss or to, get downfield 3-4 yards before contact, right? Instead of just, like the way the Blue Bombers use Brady Oliveira, and that's bang, bang, bang in the middle all the time, right? So, I wouldn't say they're one-dimensional. I would just say that when their offensive line is beaten up, like you mentioned them, right? Like Chris Van Zyl, one of the best in the league, maybe not having his best year so far, I'm told. But when he's banged up in the game, when Alex Fontana's down, when Brandon Revenberg, one of the maybe the best guard in the CFL, is down, Kyle Saxelid is another Canadian offensive. Like they're banged up, and they have to start Americans on that line that probably haven't been in the league very long. And, Don Jackson, excellent player, can't play, can't, healthy scratch because they just don't have the ratio, flexibility. So it worked to the Blue Bombers' favor, and especially in the second half. Somebody mentioned earlier, your thoughts on this, Zach? Why are the Blue Bombers, or how are the Blue Bombers so good in the second half? What is it about? Like, is it halftime adjustments? What are you thinking or seeing in their play in the second half? Because they just seem to figure it out and lock it down.
I think it is. I think it's adjustments. I'd love to talk to a coach about this, but I suspect it's adjustments because it happens every single time. And I think you add another ingredient, psychology.
Hmm.
I think they're in the other team's head. Like,
Yeah.
teams are not scoring. First of all, they're not even scoring touchdowns on this team. And if they do, it's not in the second half. And teams are, they're getting 3 points, 0 points in that fourth quarter. I think if the Bombers are ahead, which they were tonight again, my goodness, it's just, and you and I'll just jump on this because Drew and I were arguing about this. I liked when the game is deep in the fourth quarter and it's on the line. I like to be the armchair quarterback, Darrin, and we were hanging on to a 13-point lead, and there was about 3 minutes left, and I knew that the Hamilton Tiger Cats were going to run blitz. And yet they ran Augustine right up the gut for no yards. And then the next play, Kalaris no one was open. He scrambled and fell down.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, they're going to run blitz. There's going to be one-on-one coverage. You don't have to throw a deep ball, but throw a dig, throw a curl, which they did on the next possession where they ran out the clock. I believe it was Bailey on the boundary side.
Yeah.
But Drew said to me, and I'm like, you're a hockey guy. Shut your mouth. He said they trust their defense. And it's hard for me it's not super appealing, to just say, oh, you're just going to go 2-0 and play conservative at that point of the game. But it's working. Who am I to say don't do it? Like, play conservative because they trust you're talking about that defense, right? The defense just shuts teams down.
Yeah.
And the team, I expect the teams know it. They know it when they're down in the fourth quarter and they get spooked and Dane Evans starts to get happy feet. That's my theory. I would love to hear an X's and O. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, like I think a lot of it is probably, I'm going to tip my hat, which everybody's talking about tonight. I might have to get some of these made up for everybody out there, Zach. But I tip my hat to Richie Hall.
Yeah.
We talk all the time about this Blue Bombers defense and the numbers and the sacks and the big plays. And man, like Willie Jefferson, Jackson Jeffcoat could be the best bookends in the league. And, Brandon Alexander blows everybody up. And they got corners that are making great plays. And Dietrich Nichols and Mercy Maston and Adam Bighill and Kyrie Wilt, like all of these guys, Jake Thomas and Casey Sit, add in Teodric Hansen. And it's like, you know what? There's all these dudes, there's all these great players. But what is the common denominator? Because it doesn't matter who's on the field. This defense, they lose their safety. Yeah, we'll grab this guy who has 2 games in the CFL and, has had real misfortune with injuries in Malcolm Thompson. Winston Rose has 2 tough games. Well, they still allow 1 touchdown in those 2 games and now 1 touchdown in 3 games. He can't play the 3rd game. Pop in, practice roster DB or he's been on the roster, but that reserve DB and a 2nd-year guy in Demario Houston.
Yeah.
Hamilton went after him. No worries. Everything was fine. Jackson Jeffcoat misses week 1. It's okay. Bring in Wilcots and Cedric Wilcots and LB Mack. What's the common denominator here? The system, the way they play, their identity, and clearly what they see in the first half, what Richie Hall and his staff see in the first half has to be, in my opinion, has to be a big reason why they lock things down in the second half. I think it comes
Yeah.
down to just between the ears,
Yeah.
football experience and knowledge and intelligence, right? I tip my hat to Richie.
I think you nailed it, man. I wish we just would have heard your point and not mine. Like, just don't ask me any more questions, Darrin. You're El Fuego, as they like to say, Dan Patrick.
Well, man, you were in the crowd tonight enjoying yourself. I was sitting, I'm sitting there in the press box like, oh, okay, are we gonna start on time? Like, what's happening here?
but
You're
yeah,
down there having a coldie, as Chris Walby
I
likes
had
to
a
call
couple
him.
coldies. Drew bought me a my favorite Brazen Hall juicy pale ale. Love those. I think he liked it too. And then we had something else. I don't remember. He had some chicken tenders. They were pretty good,
Like
actually.
the same chicken tenders that come on the Walby Burger.
Yes, I saw a group of people trying to eat a Walby burger. There was like 7 or 8 dudes. I
Really?
like there was one guy holding the Walby burger, and he was like he looked green. And I said, "Dude, you're not just
Can
eating
you
that by
imagine
yourself."
like can you imagine chipping in on a Walby Burger and you're the guy who has to hold and you're probably just left with the bun? Like one guy grabs all the chicken tenders, another guy grabs a couple of the patties or the pickles or whatever, and it's just like, oh, thanks. I got a loaf of bread here. Um, to
They were
enjoy. Oh,
they were chipping away at it, man. And actually, I told them to hop on the show after, but I think they were already well lubricated. I
oh, it's
saw a
Friday night,
bat
baby. It's Friday night.
I saw
We're
a
here.
bat.
We're here to entertain, not be entertained. Everybody
Well,
out there watching, we're here for you, right? So
we're here
join the
for
live
you.
chat. Pop in.
Well,
Let's hear
and
what you have to say.
I was hoping they would join, but there was a group of about 10 women in a bachelorette party, and
Oh my.
one was drinking from a cup that I won't necessarily repeat what it looked like, and they offered me a
Was it
drink
of
from
the male influence?
yes, they offered me a
That's
drink of said cup, and
pretty
I said,
typical.
"No, thanks," and they
I wouldn't
booed
share a
me.
cup with anybody at the best of times. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
care, like,
booed me, Darrin. I was like, "No, I think I'm good." They're like, "Boo, you suck." I'm like, "Okay."
maybe a championship mug I would share with someone else, but like a
Yeah.
stranger at a football game, I don't know
Yes,
about that.
it was section 141. Jeff Cabillas said there was, oh, he's saying eating a Walby burger would be my death sentence. I wanna
Yeah,
meet this Jeff guy. You and I can crush a Walby burger, okay? But I
I'm
think it
down with
was
that.
Greg saying it was section 141 where that Walby burger was going down, but, yeah, we just got a notification in the chat, what it
Oh
was.
yeah, my old pal Jeremy from Red
Yeah,
River, old college pal. How you doing, Jared? Good to see you
yeah,
in there.
Jeremy knows
Everybody,
what's up.
every,
But
e-
Darrin, but seriously, you were talking about the defense, and you're right. I mean, look at all the different guys that came in, the Clements and Wilcots and Adamson was in there. You've got Demario Houston coming in. You've got Malcolm Thompson only in his 3rd game. I mean,
Donald Rutledge Jr., another rookie playing
Donald Rutledge at a
strong side.
huge
Like,
position like
yeah,
Sam Linebacker, and it all works. And I guess the other thing that it might point to is how solid Adam Bighill is in that he can
awesome.
captain that
He is
defense no matter how many stats or that he gets or doesn't get. You got to think that he's captaining that defense, and whoever's in there, they're locked and loaded. And then that secondary, you've got Nick Taylor, right, who's back there coordinating things.
Oh,
You've
and
got
that
Taekwon
play,
Glass.
I'm glad you mentioned Nick Taylor because that play in the first half where
Yeah,
it turned into a pretty
yeah,
big,
yeah,
big Ticats gain. He dove at that ball and, from like maybe a distance or a tough angle, it'd be like, oh man, he went for the interception. He missed and blew a big play. The reality is he laid out to knock that ball down and missed by this
yeah.
much. Nick Taylor has shown to be rock solid, like a great
Yeah.
veteran piece in the Blue Bombers defensive secondary. I'll give him a game ball tonight because he's been good all season long. Want to mention a couple texts. People have been hitting the the hotline. See, you and I are supposed to be switch spots. You want to play
What?
a little? Want to play a little switcheroo? Whoop!
Oh my
How about
God. Who am I? All of a sudden, my IQ has jumped several points.
that? Right.
Wow.
But
Like my
there's the
head's
hotline.
too small. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
my head's big and
Right. No. Well, the reason I like to put us this way is because then I can go hit the Bonfire
yes.
hotline, 816
Yeah.
tips, 816-8477. Lots of texts coming through tonight. You can leave a voicemail too, but texting seems to be the way of the 2020s. Well, probably the 2010s too. If I see a Tom Canada jersey at the game, we win. Has never failed me, says Jordy on the Bonfire hotline.
Nice.
Tyler, or pardon me, Robert, aka Comet, who's often in the live chat,
We
and
know
he is,
Comet's real name.
yeah, like
Oh
you got to see
boy.
this. Look at look at this. Look at this. Maybe you can't. He's just
Oh right,
just
Comet.
texts, just texts and texts and texts. But you know what? I don't even know if I can get to them because he's just had so many thoughts. But Comet, love the passion. Appreciate this. How about this, Zach? Joe Pritchard from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, checking in. Thank you, defense. I prefer not to rely on them to keep opposing teams under 20 points every game, but for now, they've given the offense some time to work out the kinks. I think that's an absolutely on the nose assessment from Joe in Wisconsin. The offense has been good and then not so good.
Yeah.
And they're hitting on their deep shots for the most part. I think um, Rashid Bailey has gotten
Yeah.
better every game. I think
Yeah.
Greg Ellingson has been awesome, excellent every game. Dalton Schoen had a nice play tonight. Nick Dembski came out tonight. Tough to see him go down with an injury, and obviously no
Yeah.
update as usual from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers or Mike O'Shea. But what I saw from Zach Collaros tonight, and this is what I wanted to share with you, Zach, is I saw um, a lot of high risk throws, a lot of dangerous throws, as I like to call them, like into
Right.
dangerous areas, small windows, double coverage, guys in the vicinity, safety help. But then with danger and high risk comes reward.
Yep.
And the receivers are doing a great job. They're getting
Yep.
open, they're making catches. Nick Dembski made a catch today that I think will be often overlooked. But just the way he reached out on like a crossing pattern to Collaros' right, and the way he reached out and caught the ball just like with
Yep.
his fingertips, like
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think like those often get overlooked because it's just like, oh yeah, crossing pattern catch, no DB. The way he made that catch, the way he pulled it in and made positive yardage after the catch, man, I can't get enough of Dick Dembski. He is just a treat to watch.
Yeah, and we certainly hope he isn't out any long term. He was really mad when it happened. I saw him just screaming and hitting the ground. I thought he broke a bone, but yeah, he like you said, he was walking off the field at the end of the game. So someone is saying the Bachelorettes took my pants. No, they did not.
Oh, you
No,
got your
that's
white
not good.
pants.
Yeah, I
Are
got
you
the
sure
white
that's not your
pants.
you sure that's not your skin?
I'm really not this pasty, folks. I think I'm doing better with the lights tonight, though. I
You
turned
are.
that light I bought on the side. It's a little bit better.
See, my lights here are just a little warmer. That's
Yeah,
all.
you got warmer
I
lights.
I
You got
look
warmer
well.
lights.
Somebody was chirping me for wearing colors of other CFL teams.
Oh,
Green last week. I'm wearing
yeah.
red. I'm a little bit. Am I in some Calgary Stampeders gear? No. I just enjoy color. enjoy.
Colors
I'm
are
like
good.
like. Wait, this guy. He's wearing a Bombers jersey. He's the fan. I'm not wearing a Bombers jersey. I'm in the press box. I'm the reporter. This is the dichotomy we have. This is how we
And it
do it.
works.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. How about this text from Emerson Klimpke? Says he listens to every podcast, texts after the game. Willie Jefferson is the man. That's it. That's the text, is what Emerson Klimpke texted into the
Hard to
Bonfire
argue.
hotline.
Hard to
Yeah,
argue.
love that. He had a thought on Dane Evans that we already touched on today, but this is something you and I talked about earlier, Zach. And this is Enrico texting on the Bonfire hotline. And he's texted it a few times. Not on topic of tonight's game specifically, but what's everyone's opinion on the True North chant during the anthem?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Glorious in Blue, he says he likes, but the True North thing is weird to me, given that it's not a Jets game. We talked about this on Bonfire Midweek, I think, right?
Yes, we did.
And we'll see everybody back here live Tuesday night at 7:30 for Bonfire Midweek. I think it's a little weird. I do.
Yep.
I think it's a little weird.
Don't like it. I mean, last time I said I don't mind it. I heard it again today. It was too loud. It was almost as loud as the Free Blue chant. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a Jets game. Seawalker says it right. It's not a Jets game. Come on.
Yep. It's homage to the corporation that brought NHL hockey back to Winnipeg. Jets aren't playing right now. Just my take.
They sure aren't.
Jump into the live chat, everybody. I want to know your thoughts on the True North chant at the Bombers game, at the Gold Eyes game. Maybe you're at the Winnipeg Ice game or a U of M Bisons game, and you hear that True North chant during the national anthem. Maybe you're somewhere else, and like that's the thing. If it's in Winnipeg, I think it should be at a Jets game. But let's say you're at a Kansas City Royals game and they're playing the Blue Jays, and you're the guy or gal hollering True North. Isn't that kind of like an identifier of like, hey, I'm from Winnipeg. What's up,
for
everybody?
Sure. For sure.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I can see that. That's
Scott
cool.
Roger mentioning, the Moose. Yes, of course. The Moose game. Oops. The Moose game is the other one. Probably okay to say True North. I'm with Jeff Kabila's. Pardon me. The live chat is coming in so hot and fast.
Yeah,
that
seriously.
I can't even click on the one I want. Yes, this one here, I think I got it. Yes, True North at a Gold Eyes game is even more ridiculous. Agreed. Love everybody popping in on the live chat.
But can I just tell you something that I've noticed? We talk in football about, you and I have talked about this a lot, consistency, Darrin.
Mhm.
There's lots of one-hit wonders in the CFL. There's lots of guys who will throw, a Joey Elliott who will throw for 400 yards in 2012. But there's a guy on the Bombers who is bringing it every week in the offense with almost the exact same number of receiving yards, and that's Greg Ellingson.
Yep.
Tonight he had, I believe, let me pull it up, I think it was 73 with a 24.3 yard average, 12 yak yards, one of 30, one of plus 20.
Like he's the deep shot guy.
He is the deep threat, and he's getting 70 yards plus 3 games in a row.
Nobody has ever called Greg Ellingson a deep threat or a burner, but here he is. And you and I talked about this off air, Zach, because people were talking about like the Bombers are missing a deep threat and, they don't have Kenny Lawler anymore. Like, they're not using Janarian Grant in that way. They don't have that burner. I don't think you need it. I really, really don't. No. Everybody wants Tyreek Hill on their football team. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of teams want a guy like that on their team, like a Lucky Whitehead, like a Shaq Evans, who, as you mentioned, down with injury right now. Did you mention that, or did somebody else?
Somebody else.
He's got.
I'll take credit. But no.
I think he's got a fractured ankle out 6 to 8 weeks, so that could seriously affect things for Duke Williams and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I think they'll be okay overall. They just have to play better than they did last night. Holy cow, what a tire fire that was. Just mistake after
Yeah.
mistake. And the Riders fall out of first place in the West. Calgary plays, I'm digressing big time. Calgary plays tomorrow against Edmonton. You could probably pencil in a W for them. We'll see. 9-point favorites last I saw. But that's first in the West Division right now, the Bombers, and well, they have it until 7 p.m. Saturday night. We'll see.
Yeah,
But
they still have it. Well, what's the tiebreaker if they're both 3-0? It's in division, so it's probably the Calgary
I think
Stampeders that
it's
would
head
get
to
it.
head, and then it comes down to points against one
Oh,
another.
is it?
So
Oh, I thought it was in division. But,
you'll
yeah.
well, the point I was trying to get to is you don't need that specific guy, that specific skill set to have a deep threat.
Yeah.
It's all about setting it up. It's like play action. You set up the run, run the ball like the Bombers did tonight. They did it fantastically through the first half, and then we saw play
Yeah.
action become very
Yeah.
effective in the third and fourth quarter, especially the third quarter.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You set them up with crossing routes. You set them up with shallow posts and shallow corner routes, and then go straight up. Nobody was
Yep.
expecting it on the first play on offense from the Bombers, and
Beauty.
there's your deep shot. So it works, you know?
There's your deep shot for Ellingson, and he may not be, I don't know his speed, Darren. I don't think he's like a 4.2 40 or anything, but what he does
I don't think
have
anybody's
is,
a 1440.
or what, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
he's not a burner. He's not the Lucky Whitehead, who, by the
Right.
way, when Milt Stegall was on the podcast a while back, he said Lucky Whitehead's the only guy in the CFL who had Milt Stegall speed. But
Yeah.
when you have the size, you have the route running ability, you have the hands of Greg Ellingson,
Yeah.
and then you now have Dalton Schoen. You have John here saying Dalton Schoen's there. They've got, and then let's not forget Bolo, who stepped in
Yeah.
when Dembski went down. I think he got a 17-yard gain on a key second down conversion. Hey, love to see that guy come in and produce for the Bombers. So I
Agreed.
just they have those receivers. I think what I would like to see on offense is a little bit more creativity with Johnny Augustine.
Okay.
We were talking about this with my mother-in-law in the back seat on the way home, and this guy's got speed to burn. And I noticed maybe they tried to run him up the gut. I'm not sure what Buck. Maybe you have a thought here, or people in the chat. But what's Buck's thinking? Changing it up with Augustine and Oliveira all the time. But if you're gonna throw Augustine in, maybe pitch it out to him a little bit. Maybe throw him a screen. Get him out in space. The guy is fast, fast, fast. I'd like to see a little more of that. I'm not calling down Buck Pierce because he knows what he's doing and he's winning, but it's just something that I'm interested in. Seawalker saying Augustine only maybe had 3 touches tonight,
Yeah. You only had 2.
too. So,
Drew
you know,
Brown carried the ball more and had more
right.
yards than Johnny Augustine, as you see
Yeah,
on your screen right now. If
right.
you're listening to the podcast, hop on over to youtube.com/bonfire sports, sub up, watch the show, and then you'll see, Zach's beautiful tea mug as he nurses his sore throat after screaming all night at IG Field.
And Jeff Cabela says I don't look as over when I'm on this side, so I like it. We might want to keep it this way.
You don't look
But
as what? What did he say?
hungover, but I'm not. I'm not hungover. I
No,
have
you're
2
not.
I have 2 beers a game max, and they're not the massive ones either. Um, can I just say one thing about Augustine that I liked, though? Or not
Sure.
Augustine, sorry, Oliveira. I thought Oliveira had a nice game, and there's one thing he did in particular, because we got to remember he's young. He's really just starting out as the feature back for the Bombers. I know everybody keeps asking for Augustine, but Oliveira made a guy miss clean, and the guy he made miss was Big Teddy Laurent. He did a spin move. He would have been caught in the backfield. Ted Laurent is one of the premier DTs in the league, Darren. And Oliveira put a move on
T-
him
I
and
w-
made something out of nothing, and I thought, "Okay, now we're if this continues, now we're starting to see the new Andrew Harris." I'm not saying he's nearly there yet, but I think that's what the
wow.
Bombers see in him down the road.
I I have two thoughts. One, Ted Laurent probably isn't still the force he has been. He's an excellent football player, continues to play at a high level. I just don't think he is a take over the game defensive tackle like he has been in years past. No knock on him. Ted, if you're listening, Ted's teammates, if you're listening, no knock on Ted Laurent. But I think he's just not as game impactful as he has been. Also, you're talking about making a defensive tackle miss. If you're a running back and you can't make a defensive tackle miss, there's a problem. Um, but it's good to see Brady Oliveira. Like he's got that, like everybody talks about Johnny Augustine's skill set. What I like from Brady Oliveira is his shiftiness. Like he's able to jump cut and move between the running inside. He's able to move into the holes very effectively. And the Blue Bombers are just employing a power run game. It's 3 yards and a cloud of dust, as they used to say, right? So no, Brady Oliveira didn't average a ton of yards. I think he had what was his average? 3.7 yards per carry. And as you see his numbers here, 56 on the ground on 15 carries, had the touchdown. Kudos to Brady Oliveira after the game, saying that's Dem's touchdown. Of course, Nick Dembski being who he's referring to, a 40-yard catch, great body control, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, to pull that ball in, 40-yard pickup for the Blue Bombers right before the half to set him up on the one, and Brady Oliveira punches it in and gets the well, what do they call it? The Hardrick Hop, the IG Field leap. I don't like what's the name for it now, Zach? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know. Are they doing the staircase climb now or what?
Yeah. Well, like Willie Jefferson, head over to my Twitter or to our Instagram, bonfire.sports on IG. I've got the celebration from the press box, like a video of Willie Jefferson essentially being mauled by
Yeah.
fans and then, coming down the stairs and celebrating with his teammates after his touchdown. But the Oliveira Augustine conversation is going to continue. I think we're at a point now, Zach, where this is the reality. It's Brady Oliveira's backfield. They're going to use Johnny, but if Brady's going like he was tonight, and yeah, it's 3 yards of carry and 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but he got the job done. It
Yeah.
worked well enough to pull the defense close to the line of scrimmage where there opens up the play action in the pass game. So, maybe they just like him as a between the tackles runner.
Yeah, I think they do, and then like, who are we to argue? They're 3-0, and they're playing well. Uh, Oliveira's average isn't the best, 3.7, although he did have a long of 10. I don't see them running outside the tackles much. I don't know what to make of that because we did see that with Harris last year, and he'd rip off some big ones running
Outside of the
outside the tackle. Yeah.
outside of the jet sweep, right? Yeah.
Well, we saw a couple jet sweeps and those work, but I'm just talking,
Yeah.
running to the right outside of the right tackle, to the left outside of the left tackle. Not so much like the big horizontal sweeps. I don't know if it's just me, but I haven't seen a lot of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like this. I absolutely agree. They have a specific style of running the football, and they do what they do. They go smack you in the mouth. Here's a great comment from Ryan Friesen, who, by the way, is not Paul Friesen of the Winnipeg Suns' son, But he said I think he was in Bonfire midweek saying Ryan Friesen parentheses Paul's son.
Right.
There are more than one Paul Friesen. There are more than two Paul Friesens in Manitoba. One's an author, one is a writer for the Winnipeg Sun, and then it could be Ryan Friesen's dad, Paul. But now I will truly digress. Ryan Friesen saying
you've used your digression quota. Don't you have a buddy saying you have to stop saying that?
yes, I
No
do.
more digressions.
Well,
It's not
I will progress into this comment from Ryan Friesen and say, here's a direct quote from the team, says Ryan Friesen, quote, if we can come in and be the most physical team by the end of the game, we've already beat up teams to where they don't want to finish, end quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. That is the way the Blue Bombers like to play. Smack you in the mouth and come get it.
I love that comment, Darrin, and that maybe is an interesting answer to what we were talking about earlier. Is how does this defense shut people down, no matter who's playing, which parts are subbed in and out on the defense, and maybe it's because that power run game has just smacked the other team around so much that the team is just kind of pummeled into oblivion. I get it's the different side of the ball.
But no, but that's the thing, like you and I have talked about it on shows past this year, Zach, right? Like, what have I always said about the run game and run blocking on the offensive line? They love to do that because they can exert the authority. They can dictate the physical because they're going and hitting the guy.
Yeah.
Same goes for the run game.
Yeah.
Right? They're run blocking, but same goes for the running back. Brady Oliveira wants to be the hammer. He wants to make their linebackers, their D linemen, their DBs coming down to the box. He wants to make them the nail.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a part of it. Brady has got a lot more weight to him than Johnny Augustine. Brady has a lot more, he has a lower pad level, right? You and I talked about this in a couple shows ago. And sorry to recycle it, but it's apropos right now. It's to the point. They use a big ball. I would say the ball's about 2.5 feet high, big rubber ball. And the running backs will like run through the bags or run through the ladder. And then they drop their shoulder and they roll off the ball with their shoulder pads in their back. It's about getting the pad level low. So whoever is trying to hit them or tackle them, they're getting lower than them. Because then you see it with Andrew Harris. Every time Andrew Harris runs, it's getting the pad level lower than the opponent. And then what happens? You can drive forward and pick up two more yards.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's the difference for 2 more yards? Well, if you run for 4, now it's 6.
Yeah.
And now you're second and short. You're second and manageable, right?
Yeah.
Versus you got to throw the ball because you need to go 6.
Yeah.
Maybe we've kind of theorized the reason why we're seeing Brady Oliveira and not Johnny Augustine.
Yeah, and
not more
just
Johnny Augustine.
And just that they beat teams down, and maybe it's not pretty, but it works over time. Do you think that translate though? We were talking about that defense and how they can shut the offense down.
Mm-hmm.
That translate. Do you see where the offense is just, or sorry, the Ticat defense just gets beaten down, even if they're not on the field for a whole lot of time? Does that translate? Do they sort of limp off the field and then the offense sort of picks up on that and they're like, oh, these guys are getting beaten up, and it sort of gets in your head. Who knows? I do want to ask about this roughing the passer on Jake Thomas. People are talking about that. I didn't actually see it, but everyone around me said it was a complete BS call. What did you see there?
I didn't see it close enough to know exactly what happened. But yeah, by all accounts, they called it a leg whip. I don't even really know what that is.
Yeah.
An arm whip, I'm immediately thought of, oh gosh, there's that offensive lineman for Edmonton 4 or 5 years ago. Jumped around the league a little bit, but he was nasty, man. He would really, one of those guys that would like gouge your eye out in the pile or pinch you. Walby tells me those stories of those guys at the bottom of the pile. Like, you don't want to know what goes on at the bottom of that pile. Like, it's inhumane dungeon stuff, right?
Yeah.
And an arm whip is when, like, let's say an arm's across my body and I crank it back on him, I guess a leg whip is using the leg to like whip the guy. I'm not exactly sure what happened,
I'm not
but they called
sure
it a
either.
leg whip. I've never heard that before in a pro football game.
Yeah, I have not either. It's interesting. I like to see Cam Lawson out there. He got a tackle for a loss. Hey, Darren, in the second quarter.
Yeah, yeah, really nice play from Cam Lawson. Free agent signing the Blue Bombers made this year from the Montreal Alouettes and a Canadian. Um, I really like that.
You and
Uh,
you mentioned we were talking about this with Liam Dobson. Everybody wants Liam Dobson to come in, especially last game where Jeff Gray was struggling. And then you saw Liam Dobson. I'm not saying he had a bad game, but there was one play that stood out where he got
well,
beat.
we saw Liam Dobson at tight end,
Yeah.
right? So he was outside of Jamarcus Hardrick on the right side of the line, and I think it was Julian
Yeah, Hauser, yeah.
Hauser. I keep looking at the spelling of his name and it screws me up because it's what I have it here. It's a Howsare. Hauser.
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 I always thought it was Hauser, but
It
or
is. It probably.
housewares. Maybe he's into housewares. I
Well,
don't
if you
know.
say Hauser fast enough, it's Hauser. Hauser. So like Doogie, we'll go with that. But there's a digression for you. Uh,
No,
it, Hauser made a great speed move on the outside, and Liam Dobson, you could see him like he's built for American football. I don't know if he's built for Canadian football yet. I'm thinking his body will change quite a bit. I remember Suk Chung,
yeah,
first year to second year with the Blue Bombers, his body changed significantly. Um, yeah, it was Suk Chung. There's been lots of players whose bodies change from first year to second year. Liam Dobson's a good football player. He's got tons of potential. I think he is a future starter in this league. He reminds me of Dom Picard, like
oh
big
yeah,
and round and low, and you ain't getting past him if you take him straight on. But
right,
Julian Hauser is a great player. Like he could do that to Jamarcus Hardrick. He could do that to some of the best tackles in the league.
yeah,
He put Liam Dobson on skates a little bit and really had him moving in a way his body wasn't prepared for, or maybe his mind wasn't prepared for, and took down Zach Collaros for a 10-yard loss. Maybe not how they want to use Liam Dobson, but
yeah,
because Michael Couture is out and on the 6th game with an upper body injury. We presume it's an upper body injury, nothing listed because he's on the 6th game. Either way, there's Liam Dobson needing to be that 6th offensive lineman, not
right,
Chris Kolinkowski, and maybe a little bit tougher, when in those tight end sets. I think the Blue Bombers maybe need to be a little bit more careful when they're using that package to ensure the ball gets out quick, or they're running it or going away from that way, because it caught him. It definitely caught
yeah,
him, and it was early enough in the game. It didn't have too much of an effect, right?
right. But I don't know, man. Like overall, this was just a great night at the park. I mean, yeah, through one interception, but I kind of find, as we've talked about, he's a high risk, high reward guy, as you said, right? And he's going to get picked off here and there, but
Yeah,
the offense is balanced. They're not putting up tons of points, but they're balanced. They make big plays when they need to make big plays. The special teams was good. I'd give them an A. A couple except for a
agreed.
couple of single points, they were great. I think they only had one holding call on a return, whereas last game they had a few. There weren't a whole lot of penalties. It was a pretty clean game. And then, of course, the defense did what the defense does. And that the biggest play from Hamilton was a play where Nick Taylor, like you said, was millimeters away from knocking that away. And so this team under Zach Collaros is what now, 20-1
In meaningful games,
in meaningful games, except for that meaningless
they have that loss in
Calgary.
Toronto
Yeah,
last year, week 4, week 5, whatever it was. Yeah.
it's crazy.
Um,
And Jeff Cabillas adding, with the special teams. there wasn't any big return. They had one decent return, but that was called back on a holding. I mean, all 3 phases did what they had to do,
Yeah, they were good.
and I'll ask you this, and I don't wanna be hyperbolic here, Darren, but we talked about, is this team as good as last year's team, just on the depth chart? And you
We'll
said
see.
yes at the
We'll see.
beginning.
We'll see.
Uh, right now, they're looking pretty darn good,
They're
and
looking pretty darn good.
If
Yep.
I'm Hamilton and I walked in here, yes, they were beaten up on a short week, but they just limped out of here licking their wounds. Like, that team had a bit of a beatdown put up on them, and, it's fun to be a Bomber fan when you are on the not the receiving end of the beatdown, let's just say.
Right. Yeah, like the I was just looking ahead. Get your
Yes, of
fillable
course.
on the news section of bonfiresports.ca. So 3-0 to start the season, and now in Toronto on July 4th, in BC on July 9th. That's a quick turnaround, and you're going from Eastern to Pacific time and playing 2 games in, my math is really bad. What, 6 days? Like, it's going to be tough these next 2 games, and then you come home to Calgary, at Edmonton, at Calgary to wrap up July.
Yeah.
This next stretch is going to be really, really big for Winnipeg. So, to your point about, um, are they as good as last year? Like, I could ask a million players on the team that, or the coaches, or you're never going to get a response because they don't
No.
care. They really don't
No, they
care.
don't
They
care.
don't care if
No.
they're better than last year. The 2022 Grey Cup 109 is not Grey Cup 108. And it's not Grey Cup 107. It's Grey Cup 109. So it doesn't matter. That's how the Blue Bombers play football. We're going to see, though, over these next 3-4 games, what they're really made of. Especially if Nick Dembski has to miss some time. But, being without Michael Couture, I think they're okay. But I think it hurts. I do want to mention this before we wrap things up. And thanks to everybody who's been hanging out. Like, numbers are awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody's support. Get down and hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. But those likes and comments, like even after the live stream, if you're watching this on the replay, get into the comments, give the thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, give the like. All those things help us so very much to give you this great free content on here on Bonfire Sports. Jeff Gray had a couple bad plays, says Travis Rubinik. Both have room to improve. It'll be interesting battle to watch as far as Gray and Liam Dobson. Here's what I noticed, and I found this fascinating, Zach, especially early in the game. Where did they run Brady Oliveira? To the left. Every
Mm,
time they ran him behind Jeff Gray and Chris Kolinkowski. They ran him behind Jeff Gray and Stanley Bryant. Were they working away from Micah Johnson or Julian Hauser? Maybe. But they were going to the left. So maybe they expected, with changes and Jeff Gray being the least experienced on the line, maybe they'd expect them to go behind Pat Neufeld and Jamarcus Hardrick while they went to the left. And they kind of
mm.
stuck it with the left. I even saw it in the second half. It was Brady to the left. So I don't think that contributed to the numbers being this or that, but it was just interesting to see the Bombers stick it to them. Like, just say, we're going to the
Mhm.
left. We don't care who's in. There's your Mike O'Shea mentality, right? Yeah.
I do have to tell you, we got to get into our happy honker and
Yeah, let's do it.
Our Walby's warrior and our Westwoods wide to the right. The Westwoods wide to the right is I'm going off the board here because I am seeing
Yeah, shoot.
I see so many mentions of these hats that our fans want,
Yeah.
And Darrin, you gotta give them the goods. Give the people what they want.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. This is the new Bonfire Sports design. And we gotta oh
Ooh, on a black hat would be or gray or
yeah,
even white.
yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Um, or we can just stick with the traditional B. I like the B. I'm a big fan of it. Shout out to my boy Maddie who came up with the Bonfire Sports B. Great work on the graphic design. But yeah, I think we got to get some gear made up. I think it's enough people are asking. Kevin Sproul saying he wants a toque.
All
Uh,
right.
I think that's bang on. We got some toques made up too. I gave them all to Nick Kowalski because he came with me to the Grey Cup. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun. Zach. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's get to it. Your wide to the right is you. Well, you brought up the hats. Is that what you're talking about? Is that your
We
wide to the
gotta
right?
get people hats. If we don't get people hats, we're gonna keep getting wide to the right because yeah, we gotta
Oh,
get
I
we
see what
gotta
you
get
mean.
we gotta get people hats, okay? That's all I'm
Okay.
saying. And
Where do you want to
the
start?
Walby's warrior for me, buddy, was
Okay.
Mark Leggio.
Hmm.
I know
You stole
Jefferson had the pick six.
you stole mine.
You convinced me.
Oh
Look at the
man.
pressure that guy was under.
Oh man. Now you're gonna make me pick a new Walby's
No, we
Warrior.
can both have a Walby's warrior that's the kicker. And if Walby knew that, Walby would be a
So
warrior and he'd come down and crush our heads, but you convinced
so I
me.
convinced you with the reasoning of, blocking out all the noise, going out
Yeah.
there on a home game in crappy weather and playing his best game as a pro, I would say.
Best game as a pro, handling all three duties, only his third game, higher pressure at home. Uh, listen, he brought it today. He got the two singles that maybe you don't want, but they, like you said, they were close. And I'll say this: if you get a single after like a booming 76-yard punt, I'll take it. Like if you can hit the ball that hard,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. I think my happy honker, it's between Chris Kolinkowski, who came in again and did a good job. We don't notice when someone snaps the ball well because we just expect it. But you come in your second game ever, your first start, you snap the ball low, you snap the ball high.
Yep.
You could have some trouble there. So I think he should get some love. Um, Who else did I think of my look? Kyrie Wilson is always the happy honker because he's
Under
unsung, man. Like
underappreciated. Yeah,
the
unsung.
guy just
Yeah.
makes play after play after play. You could give it to Demario Houston,
Yep.
who came
There's
in,
waiters mentioning that. I was thinking about Demario Houston.
you
Did a
know.
good job tonight. Yeah.
So and
I'm
then and
going to
go,
well,
go,
okay.
go.
Go ahead. No, no, you wrap it up. You wrap it up. You
Well,
got your
I'll,
picks.
I'll
I got mine.
say I'll say that the turning point of the game for me, I
And you
think.
got all your features down, hey?
Well, no, I'm just thinking of them I'm just coming up with them as I'm thinking now, which is saying not much. I mean, how can you not do the Bonfire Sports turning point to that Willie Jefferson pick six?
Yeah,
I
that's
still need to know
probably
who tipped it up,
mm,
but
I'm
that seemed to just put the game away for me. It was 18-9, so it's a two-score game, but then
yeah,
then you're at 26-9 or 25-9, 26-9, 25-9. No, Zach, come on, do your math. Uh
25-9.
yeah.
Yes.
At that point you're thinking the game's probably over.
Right. Well, you can even go to the series before that where they got good pressure on Evans on the first play, and he had to scramble for 3 yards. They hit Poppy White for 9, and then it was Erlington tackled in the backfield by Willie Jefferson, and then a 10-yard sack from Willie Jefferson. Like at that point, they're trailing 18-9 and couldn't do anything. Winnipeg goes 2 and out, And then 3 plays later, Willie Jefferson's in the end zone. So it
Yeah.
was just those 2 series,
Yeah, that's a good point.
midway through
Yeah.
the 4th quarter, that really got the job done. I'm with Travis a little bit, being, he's being colorful here in the way he put it, but what an absolute textbook collision from Adam Bighill on Stephen Dunbar Jr.
Oh, beautiful.
Unbelievably done to just like Chris Walby likes to talk about alligator arms. Like receivers will suddenly their arms will shrink because they're worried about getting hit, and they that natural thing to bring your arms in and protect your body, from a collision. Uh, Adam Bighill was awesome tonight, and it was highlighted by that.
Oh,
I'll give my Walby's Warrior to Demario Houston because he stepped up, and even though they went after him early, he didn't let
yeah.
it phase him. He played a really strong game. That said, I don't think Dane Evans or the offensive line did enough to help their pass game. What are the what's the outline for the Happy Honker Award? Who do we give that to?
It's the unsung hero, like, so for
Oh,
me, it was, Chris Kolinkowski, and I think you, by default, you always have to give it to Kyrie Wilson, but sorry, I'm just
we got to
laughing
call it
at
the
the
Kyrie
chat
Wilson
here.
Award.
There's some good stuff. Uh,
Who
yes,
should I
it's
give it
good.
to? I'll look on the defense and I'll give it to. Oh, who did I like? Oh gosh. You know what? Because Willie Jefferson is getting all the accolades and gets his 5th touchdown in his career, and we just talked about his play on those 2 consecutive series to lock down the game. I'll give it to Jackson Jeffcoat. He just played rock solid all night long. Got into the backfield, had a great pass deflection, had a tackle for loss, which was nearly a sack. He did a great job tonight, so that's my happy honker. So I got my Warrior, I got my Westwood's wide to the right. What am I going to do for Dembski on the wide to the right? Yeah, I'm going to say it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats just not running the football. Like I don't
Yeah,
understand their strategy there. Like yes, I talked about their short pass game, the check down game, all of that. I just don't get it. I don't know why they don't run the ball traditionally to open things up. Maybe it's not Dane Evans. Maybe it's just defenses know how to play
yeah,
against them. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I like Jeff's comment here. Happy Honker goes to the white jersey and blue pants.
yes,
It works. I agree. I don't mind that look. I don't mind that look. It looks like the Winnipeg Rifles new uniforms, not blue pants, but just that look reminded me of their new uniforms for 2022. So keep an eye out for that if you like nice looking football kits.
yeah,
Hashtag rifle up, the Winnipeg
rifle
Rifles
up,
Junior Football
baby.
Club. Yeah. Well, let's leave it there. Awesome response from everybody tonight. It's well after 1 a.m. Sure hope everybody has a safe and happy and healthy weekend. Stay cool. If it's hot, stay dry. If it's raining, we could very well get a lot of that, but enjoy it. Your football team is 3-0 and first place in the CFL.
And yeah, let's see maybe Calgary lose and stay in first place, Darren, just from a fan perspective. But yeah, fun night at the park tonight, and thanks for everyone for joining. And nice to finally meet you, Aaron. If you're still on there, we got a picture together, and I got to see Bomber Woman again. She's healing up well, and retired guy, and yeah, a great night at the park. And thanks to Mr. Drew Mandel for joining as well. And I think I've moved the needle on him. He may be moving over towards the bomber side. He'll never leave the confines of hockey, but good to see him there.
I'm with you, waiters. We'll see you guys Tuesday night for Bonfire midweek. The Bombers are off until Thursday in
Wow.
preparation for that next Monday, like 10 days from now,
Right.
roughly. July 4th, their next game in Toronto. against the Argos. So everybody will get a chance to rest up. Zach, you and I, we're still going to be on the ball and get things going on Bonfire midweek on Tuesday. But thanks to everybody out there for joining the live chat, watching live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, or listening to the podcast afterwards, or watching afterwards. Appreciate all of you. Phyllis is listening live while she's driving home.
Nice.
Hopefully you're driving safe in the dark and in the rain and dodging any weather. Take care, Phyllis, and everybody who's out there supporting us here on Bonfire Sports.
And Neil and Pumper, I'm going to do my best to meet you next time. It didn't happen today. Too hectic.
Good guys.
But we'll figure
I know those
something out.
guys. They're good guys. I know those two. They're really
I want to meet you.
Outstanding gentlemen. So yeah, okay. Thanks everybody. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Bombers win. What was the score? I can't even remember anymore. 26-12. They're 3-0.
Yeah, baby.
Here
they
we
got
go.
past 19 points. I'll take it.
No doubt. Okay, everybody. Have a great night. Take care.
Good night, everyone.